At exactly 9:47 a.m. on June 18, 2023, the carbon fiber hull of the Titan imploded in just 20 milliseconds faster than the human brain can process pain, subjecting its 5 occupants to temperatures briefly mimicking the surface of the sun. A viewport rated for 300 meters. A warning signed by 38 top ocean engineers ignored. A whistleblower escorted off the property by security. How did a community of the world's most elite deep-sea explorers watch a CEO spend 5 years publicly bragging about cutting every safety corner, yet still choose to step inside his experimental tube? If you have ever booked an airline ticket, you took for granted that thousands of engineers verified every single bolt. But 4 miles beneath the North Atlantic, no regulators exist. To understand how 5 men were vaporized in less time than it takes to blink, we must look at a single document signed in Everett, Washington. This is page 1 of the OceanGate Mission Specialist Agreement. Before any customer could step onto the support vessel, they were forced to sign this exact contract. Read those exact words. This experimental vessel has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body. Why would wealthy billionaires pay $250,000 for a seat inside an uncertified tank? Because Stockton Rush did not sell ocean tourism, he sold Silicon Valley disruption. Born into Princeton royalty, Rush was an aerospace engineer turned venture capitalist who believed deep-sea exploration was stuck in the dark ages due to useless government regulation. Every existing deep-diving vessel in history, like James Cameron's deep-sea Challenger, used a solid titanium or steel spherical hull. Heavy, spherical, insanely expensive. Rush had a different idea. If he used carbon fiber instead of titanium, he could build a cylinder that held 5 people instead of 3, at a fraction of the weight and cost. There was only one massive problem: titanium compresses predictably under pressure. Carbon fiber does not. When you submerge a carbon fiber tube 800 meters under ocean water, every square inch faces nearly 6,000 pounds of crushing atmospheric pressure. Titanium flexes and returns to its original shape. Carbon fiber, under that same pressure, develops microscopic internal tears between its composite layers. Did Rush consult top naval acoustic experts? No. He purchased expired carbon fiber materials from Boeing at a steep discount. He told reporters Boeing and NASA helped design the hull. Boeing later issued a flat public denial, stating they never designed or tested the Titan's hull. Rush built the interior with off-the-shelf RV lighting, glued ceiling panels by hand, and steered the entire $1.5 million submersible with a modified $30 Logitech wireless video game controller. If you are enjoying how we break down the hidden engineering behind world-changing tech, Future Explained exposes one of these deep dive cases every week. Hit subscribe right now. By 2018, Stockton Rush was ready to plunge clients into the Atlantic darkness. But inside his own company, someone looked at the blueprint and panicked. David Lockridge was OceanGate's director of marine operations, a veteran Scottish submarine pilot hired to ensure operational safety. In January 2018, Lockridge submitted an internal quality inspection report to OceanGate management. What he documented should have halted the project immediately. Read line 3 carefully. The front acrylic viewport manufacturer explicitly refused to certify the window below 300 meters because OceanGate's design was non-standard. Rush was planning to dive to 800 meters, nearly 3 times the depth limit of the window installed directly in front of the passengers' faces. When Lockridge demanded ultrasound scans to check for trapped air bubbles inside the carbon fiber layers, Stockton Rush refused, citing the expense. Instead of scanning the hull, Rush fired David Lockridge that afternoon. Within days, OceanGate's legal team sued Lockridge for breaching a non-disclosure agreement. Lockridge was forced to settle and remain silent, but word of Rush's cut corners leaked across the tight-knit deep-sea exploration community. In March 2018, the Marine Technology Society, representing 38 of the world's leading submersible experts, sent a formal letter directly to Stockton Rush's desk.
Look at the chilling prediction written on line 2. Your current experimental approach could result in negative outcomes, from minor to catastrophic, that would have serious consequences for everyone in the industry.
Veteran explorer Rob McCallum emailed Rush privately, writing, "You are putting your clients and yourself in a dynamic that is similar to She is unsinkable. Rush's reply was pure hubris. We have heard the baseless cries of "you're going to kill someone" way too often. I take this as a personal insult. Instead of submitting Titan to third-party classification agencies like DNV or the American Bureau of Shipping, Rush simply walked away from regulatory oversight entirely. To bypass regulatory marine laws, Rush operated in international ocean waters outside U.S. and Canadian jurisdiction, staging support ships out of Newfoundland. And to replace traditional pressure testing, Rush invented a gimmick he called his proprietary acoustic real-time monitoring system. Rush claimed piezoelectric sensors glued inside the carbon hull would listen for microscopic cracking noises, giving the pilot enough warning to surface before total structural failure. Think about how insane that logic is. The system relied on listening to the hull actively failing under 400 atmospheres of pressure to tell you to go back up. Submersible engineer Carl Stanley took a test dive in the Titan off the coast of the Bahamas in 2019. During the dive, he heard loud, cracking, popping noises echoing through the hull.
Stanley emailed Rush immediately afterward. That noise sounded like a flaw/defect being paying attention to by huge pressure. You are taking paying clients to Titanic based on an untested hull.
Rush ignored Stanley, but the first original carbon hull had suffered so much internal micro-damage during that Bahamas test that OceanGate was forced to discard it. Instead of abandoning carbon fiber entirely, Rush built a second hull with another aerospace manufacturer, Electro Impact. Between 2021 and 2022, he completed 13 dives to the Titanic.
Each successful dive convinced Rush that his critics were outdated relics. He marked safety rules in a famous interview. At some point, safety is just pure waste.
What Rush failed to understand was cyclic fatigue mechanics. Every time Titan returned to atmospheric sea level, the microfractures in the composite matrix didn't heal. They multiplied. The Titan was not an engineering triumph. It was a ticking clock where every successful dive removed another gear from the mechanism. June 16, 2023. The former Canadian Coast Guard vessel Polar Prince leaves the harbor of St. John's, Newfoundland, towing the Titan launch platform into open ocean. On board were 5 human beings, each carrying distinct motives for entering the experimental carbon cylinder. Stockton Rush, the pilot, Paul-Henri Nargeolet, legendary French deep-sea diver who had visited the Titanic 37 times. Hamish Harding, British billionaire explorer. And British-Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, alongside his 19-year-old university student son, Suleiman Dawood.
Suleiman was terrified of the dive, but brought a Rubik's Cube inside, hoping to break a world record for solving it 4 kilometers beneath the sea.
Sunday, June 18, 8:00 a.m. The 5 men crawl through the narrow 22-inch hatch. OceanGate crew members bolt 18 heavy industrial bolts from the outside. There is no handle inside. Once sealed, the passengers cannot escape. Even if they surface safely, they would suffocate inside unless someone unbolted them from the outside. 8:30 a.m. Titan drops off the floating platform and begins its 2-hour descent into total pitch blackness. Every 15 minutes, Titan sends an acoustic text ping to the surface support ship Polar Prince, reporting depth and hull status. At 9:45 a.m., depth reaches approximately 346 meters. The acoustic sensors pick up sudden, rapid popping sounds within the carbon weave. The hull structure is failing. Rush sends a final frantic ping, drop 2 WTS. He dropped the emergency ballast weights to abort the dive and attempt an emergency ascent. It was already too late. At 9:47 a.m. and 25 seconds, the carbon fiber composite wall snapped. Water rushed in at Mach 3 speed over 2,000 miles per hour. The air inside the cabin compressed instantly like a diesel engine piston. Temperatures inside reached over 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit for a fraction of a millisecond. The occupants died before the nerve signals from their eyes or ears could even reach their brains. Death was truly instantaneous. While the world spent 5 agonizing days glued to television screens listening for reports of banging sounds, top U.S. Navy officials already knew the truth. A classified military underwater acoustic detection network, designed to track enemy submarines, had recorded the exact hydrocaustic signature of Titan's implosion at 9:47 a.m. on Sunday. On Thursday, June 22, a remote-operated vehicle from the ship Horizon Arctic descended to the ocean floor 600 feet from the Titanic's bow. The ROV camera illuminated 5 major pieces of debris: the front titanium end cone, the tail cone, and shattered carbon fiber shreds littered across the silt. If you want the unfiltered truth behind the boldest engineering projects shaping our world, make sure you are subscribed to Future Explained. The U.S. Coast Guard Marine Board of Investigation launched a formal inquiry. Their findings revealed that OceanGate had laid off almost its entire engineering team years before the final fatal dive. Stockton Rush wanted to be remembered as a visionary rule-breaker like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, pushing the frontiers of human technology. In the end, Stockton Rush wanted to be remembered as a rule-breaker who pushed the boundaries of engineering, but he will only be remembered as the man who proved why those rules existed in the first place. 20 milliseconds in the pitch black. The same ocean that swallowed the Titanic standard in 1912 reclaimed the vessel that sought to turn it into an uncertified amusement park. Rush did not copy a playbook written by aerospace pioneers. He copied a playbook written by every tech founder who believed marketing could override the laws of physics. Subscribe to Future Explained right now, and click the video on screen to see how another high-tech gamble engineered its own destruction.